Hello, disc golfers. Welcome to episode 4 of Caddy Chat. I'm your host, Jacob Arvidsson. I'm joined, as always, by Josh Wood. We're excited to have you. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Josh, what is on the docket for the show today?
Yeah, today we are going to do some preview of some upcoming events, the Chain Hawk Open, as well as the Carolina Clash. This past weekend was quiet, not a lot of tournaments going on, so this will be a little bit of a shorter episode. We'll talk about those two events. We're going to talk about our featured segment this week is TD of the month. So we'll give a shout out to some great TDs. And then we're going to play a little bit of a game with some disc golf bag selections. And then we are going to continue on with our tourney talk this week, talking about sponsorships.
And we're excited to talk about that. So Stay tuned for our tourney talk section. To kick it off, let's preview the two big A tiers that are coming up this coming weekend here to kick off December. We've got one in Carolinas, right, Charlotte, and one down in Gainesville, Florida. So First off, the Carolina Clash in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was originally scheduled earlier this year, later in the fall, but the hurricane came through and they were forced to reschedule. And here we are, beginning of December. And honestly, the people that were going to play are obviously, for the most part, still playing. And it actually opened up the ability for a lot of people who were on tour and not able to make it. Now it gives them the chance. It's the off season. The people on the Middle East Coast region. And I know there's a lot of pros or bigger names in the greater Charlotte disc golf area to begin with. So it gives them an opportunity to jump into the tournament as well. So
I wish I would have paid attention to see who jumped in after the reschedule. That'd be fun to know.
Yeah, we should have seen the future on that one.
We should have seen it coming.
Would have given you guys some good insight. But
yeah.
Who are we looking at for MPO?
Yeah, the top. One of the things I do usually when I look at a tournament is I sort by rating and just see who are the highest rated players that are playing this event. And so the top 5 we have this weekend are Cal Laviska, Paul Ulibarri, Michael Johansson, Dylan Sapala, and Zach Melton. And then Grady Shue also, sixth on that list. So some great players. I'm excited to see how this one turns out.
How about FPO? What are we looking at there?
In the FPO,
I know if I recall correctly, it was a relatively small field.
It is. I'll give you the top 7 female players playing. Paige Shue, Sarah Hokum, Holly Finley, Ruth Hudson, Cadence Berg, Leah Sinagini, and Ariel Walker. I am sorry if I mispronounced your name. So those are the 7 players playing FPO.
Top 7 players.
Top 7 players. Yep.
The one thing to note from there, obviously Sarah Holcomb and Holly Finley are big names. We've talked about them on recent episodes. They'll challenge for the win. But Paige Shue resides in Charlotte, I believe.
She does.
So hometown event.
PDGA.
Hometown event for her.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen her out on tour since she had a kid. So it's always nice to see her at an event. She is a former world champion, so the woman can throw a disc. We'll see how she does.
Yeah, on her home turf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that'll be fun to watch. That should be a good battle there.
Any predictions for those two divisions? Who do you expect to come out on top?
It's always tricky, right? Who do you think is going to come out on top, and who do you hope is going to come out on top? I think Ulibarri has a good chance in the MPO. He's been playing well this year. And again, Cal Laviska and Johansson are probably his biggest competition this weekend. And so I think it's going to be a great battle. And I do think that Paul's going to come out on top for this one in the MPO.
I don't think that's a bad prediction.
What do you think?
I'm going to go with Cale. He's the highest rated guy here, and he's known for his buttery smooth backhand and carving up woods lines. Yeah. And that's what Carolina golf is. That's what Charlotte disc golf is. So that's my pick. might be a bit of a cop-out because he's the highest-rated guy there, but Kale LaVisca, that's who I'm going with.
Yeah, it's not always the highest-rated player.
And then on FPO, I mentioned I'm excited to see Paige Shue throw.
Mm-hmm.
She's not going to be my pick, though. You got to go with Finley or with Holcomb, and I'm going to go with Finley. She loves Woods lines as well. And, Holly Finley will, I think, barely edge out the two. I think Shue will make a challenge for it, but
I agree. That's my pick,
Finley's
too.
my pick.
Mine, too. I agree with you on that. So, yeah, that'll be fun. I hope there's coverage.
So then the A tier that was originally scheduled, the only big A tier originally scheduled for this weekend was the Chain Hawk Open down in Gainesville, Florida. And that's when we see some higher amount of bigger names at.
Yes.
Last year, Thomas Gilbert won on the MPO side, and he's back again for more. He's back again for more. So who's he joined by?
Yeah, he's going to be going up against Matty O, Garrett Gerthy, Gavin Rathbun, Andrew Fish, Terry Roethlisberger, AJ Carey. Yeah, it's a stacked field there.
So plenty of names.
Yeah, plenty of big names to fight it out.
So that'll be interesting to watch. And then on FPO, we talked to, obviously, Deanne Carey last week on the show. She mentioned last year the tournaments she's been winning now. She calls it her revenge tour.
That's right.
And this was one of the tournaments she mentioned where she got second or lost in a playoff and got second. And the Chain Hawk Open was one of them. She lost in a playoff to Jessica Weiss. So Deanne's back to avenge
so is
that.
Jessica. And Jessica Weiss is back. So she'll be playing, and Ellen Widboom will be there as well. So I think those are the three that I'm going to keep my eye on to see.
Those are the three to watch. I think
battle it out.
It's hard to pick against Deanne Carey the way she's been
on
playing.
Fire.
And obviously, we consider her a friend of the show now. So
yeah. So we're going to root for her.
We're not picking against Deanne. Deanne, you're going to win the Chain Hawk Open. Keep it rolling.
And then in the MP40, Johnny McRae will be there. So.
And Johnny McRae will win.
I hope so.
I would assume so. That would be my prediction. MPO-wise, who's going to win? We talked about it's a decent-sized stacked field.
Yeah, in MPO, this one's tough for me too, between who do I think is going to win and who do I want to win. I'm gonna go with Matty O. We've talked about even recently that you see him a lot on the lead card and the chase card. You see him a lot on coverage. He doesn't always close it out well. I think he's going to this weekend. I think this is the weekend he puts it away and comes away with a win.
Okay. Now, we had talked before the show. He's played in 8 or 10 A tiers this year.
8, I believe.
8, and he's won only 2 of them. He's never finished outside the top 10, but he's only won twice. And for a player that highly rated, that's a little surprising for me.
It is.
To only come out on top 25% of the time in A tiers that don't have the same tour caliber field that he's playing in the Elite Series events all season. So I'm going to stick to that and say Matty O is not going to win.
Okay. Who do you got?
Garrett Gerthy's been battling with McBeast the last couple of weeks. I think he's battle-tested. Thomas Gilbert's obviously the defending champion. Yeah. Andrew Fish is a baller. We know that. He's consistent.
I predict those 4 for the lead card. Final round.
I don't think that's...
Matt, Garrett, Thomas, and Andrew.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick. But I'm going to go with Double G. I think Garrett Gerthy pulls down the Chain Hawk Open, and we'll be talking about Double G as the champion next week.
He is one of my favorite guys to watch, so he's the one that I want to win.
All right, fair.
If we're going with wants versus predictions.
We'll take that.
I love Garrett.
All right.
Watching him throw.
So keep an eye out for coverage for that. We'll be talking about it next week. Hopefully you can catch some of that disc golf and then follow along with what we say as we recap it and see if you agree or disagree next week.
Yeah.
All right, on to our next segment, the TD of the month, Tournament Director of the Month. And we kept it local this time, local to West Michigan. And we went with Amy and Jason Church. We did a kind of a combo deal, husband and wife deal. They run a lot of events in the North Muskegon, Whitehall area. And they've done a very good job for a while. Have you played any of their events, Josh?
I have not played any of their events. Matter of fact, I've met them a couple of times, and it was at events that we were running at Windstrom. So great people. really loved getting to know them and watching them play.
And as we talked to the local area about who they thought deserved this title, a lot of them pointed to Amy and Jason, and nobody had anything bad to say. And there was several names that were thrown out there as far as good candidates for our first TD of the Month award. But for all of the other candidates, there was one or two people that had their qualms and said, yeah, I don't really enjoy that event for X, Y, or Z reason. Yeah. But we didn't hear that with Amy and Jason. They've been involved with Sweet Spot Disc Golf in Muskegon, running the Sweet Spot series in prior years. Have done great work with that. They also run Nice Shot Disc Golf, small little retail production company. Create a lot of good products, shirts, hats, that kind of thing. And within that, they've done a lot of trophy designs, which is what makes their events cool. They've got unique
custom trophies,
unique custom trophies that they hand build every event that the winners get to take home. And I've even seen them go as deep as second and third place getting trophies as well, which is cool. I know especially in the amateur divisions, people really enjoy being able to take home a trophy, even if they didn't win, but they know they played well and the field was well sized enough where third place is nothing to sneeze at.
Sure.
So it's nice to take something home there. They've been big running the Henderson Lake Open,
which is an event you've played.
Yeah.
How many times? 7?
I've played it, I believe, 7 times. This year, 2022, was their 10th edition of the event. So they've been going strong for a decade. It's gotten better every year. I know it's an event that a lot of people in the Muskegon area look forward to. And I travel up to with a couple of people from Holland. Every year I try to make an appearance there just to say thanks for what they're doing, but also I enjoy the event. It's a fun time, and yeah, Amy and Jason do great work. So thanks for all you do. The people obviously appreciate you.
Well deserved.
And we look forward to you guys continuing to build on that in the future. So congratulations on the Caddy Chat TD of the Month award.
The inaugural.
That's right. The first ever.
The first ever TD of the Month. The churches.
So in the spirit of not having a whole lot to talk about this week as far as disc golf recaps and stuff goes for Thanksgiving weekend, we're going to have a little fun here on Caddy Chat. We're going to play a little game. And Josh and I are going to build our own bag. But how it's going to work, we're going to have some limitations. We're going to randomly draw out of the pot from a list of 13 popular manufacturers. From there, we will have to choose a putter, an approach disc, 2 mids, 2 fairways, 2 drivers. And we'll have to build our bag from that. So we'll get a random draw out of the pot for each of those slots in our bag, and we'll see how this goes. We encourage you guys to leave some comments. Let us know what you think we chose, where you think we chose wrong, what discs you guys would have picked, and ultimately, once we've built our bags, let us know who has the best 8-disc bag. Not who's gonna win in a challenge, but who has the best bag. Like, whose bag would you prefer? So curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Yeah. So, Josh,
and not just negative comments. I mean, you don't just have to say what we picked wrong, but maybe you want to encourage us and tell us what we picked right.
Yeah, say good job picking.
Good job.
Good job on your distance drivers.
Good job, Josh.
You might not hit a tree every time.
Yeah,
only half the time.
Okay, so I'm gonna go first. Is that
Josh? You are up first. Let's see what the randomizer has for you.
All right.
What do you got?
I got MVP. Okay. So for a putter, I love to throw a Wizard, as soft as they come, as many S's as they'll give me on that Wizard.
You love your gummy putters.
I like my gummy putters. So, and a little bit overstable. So, I mean, a Wizard is a 2302. So I think with an MVP, I'm going to go with a Nomad. And I'm going to take the Electron Soft plastic, because it was the softest one I can think of that they manufacture. Nomad is a 2401, so it's a little bit overstable. And I think that would fit my putting style well. I like to just creep them over the basket barely and not use any chains.
You do like to do that. Yep. So you are supporting James Conrad.
Yeah.
Well,
the Nomad.
Well, he appreciates you, I'm sure.
Maybe.
Let's see what the randomizer has for me. My putter slot is going to come from Discraft.
Oh.
And for those of you that don't know, Josh throws mostly Innova. I throw mostly Discraft, so this one's a blessing for me.
And Jake's running the randomizer.
Allegedly.
Just a coincidence.
Allegedly.
Just a coincidence.
No,
Discraft. What are you going to throw then?
Discraft, no-brainer here. We're going with the Jawbreaker Roach. I need baseline plastic for grip purposes. But the Roach is my go-to, has been for a couple years now. Will be again next year. Not too deep of a rim, but also not too shallow of a rim. Again, the baseline plastic for me is really important grip-wise, both on the putting green, but also throwing putter-wise. I tend to not get a good grip throwing a putter if it's not baseline plastic. So that's extra important. And for me, for whatever reason, premium plastics on the putting greens seem to slip through the chains a little bit more than I would prefer.
I was going to say, we both picked baseline plastics for our putters. And I can't think of too many people that throw premium plastic for a putter. Is that...
I think it's a grip thing.
You think it's a grip thing or the spit out thing?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a curious question.
I don't have a lot of baseline plastic in my bag.
If any of you guys,
my putters are baseline.
Yeah.
And my get out of jail free card.
Yes. Yeah. If any of you guys at home have a premium plastic putter that you putt with, drop a comment for us. We'd love to know what you throw and why. On the putting green, we're talking. I know a lot of people do throw premium putters off the tee and on approaches, but we're talking slamming into chains.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to know.
Yeah, we'd be curious there. All right, approach disc, the slot in your bag. Who's the manufacturer?
It is going to be Westside. Westside. Okay, so for an approach disc from Westside, I would go with the Harp. It's similar to my Pigs. I love my Pigs. And a Harp is a 4302, so it's an overstable. I actually think the Harp 2 is probably more consistent in regard to getting seasoned. I have a constant rotation of Pigs in my bag. I like the R Pro, but they seem to get beat in pretty quick and get too flippy pretty quick. So I think the Harp is probably going to be very similar to that, but more stable, more consistent. And I'll go with the BT medium plastic.
Okay, so you're still looking for more of a baseline feel on.
Yeah, soft.
On the putter.
Yep, soft, but not DX soft.
Okay.
Again, with the Pigs, I like the R Pro. I don't like the Pro. The Pro is too stiff. I like something a little softer.
Good to know. All right, approach disc.
That's right. Christmas is coming up. That is good to know, Jake.
Yes, maybe you'll see a BT medium Harp in your stocking, Josh.
Maybe.
All right, so it looks like the randomizer has chosen DGA for me for my approach slot. Very similar to Discraft's sister company, obviously produced at the Discraft facility. For those of you that didn't know that. I got to go with the Breaker. Very similar to the Zone, which I throw a lot of. And it fits that overstable approach slot that you're talking about with your Harp. The Breaker is going to be very similar to that. Not as overstable as my Zone. And I think depending on the Harp, the BT medium might be very similar to the Breaker actually. But yeah, consistently overstable. I like to throw a lot of forehand flick approaches, and I'll be able to get this Breaker to flat and still count on it to fade, as well as put it on some force over lines, and it'll hold some lines on the forehand there. So I'm going with the Breaker for sure. And plastic wise, let's go with the Icebreaker. It's pretty, it's see-through, premium plastic. So it'll look good when I'm parked next to the basket. And just to make it even more specific, we're going to go with the Trevor Harbolt signature
shout out.
Narwhal Icebreaker. Trevor, friend of Leprechaun Hollows. We've enjoyed having him out on our skins match the last 2 years. So Trevor, I'm going with your icebreaker for my approach disc.
Nice. All right, what do I got next? I'm on mids now.
Yep. Mid slot number 1. What do you got?
Infinite okay,
discs.
Infinite discs. I'm gonna go with an Inca. Again, similar to a pig, but this one's a little faster. It's a 5503. And I'm gonna go with the premium plastic for this one.
Okay.
So this to me, like the harp and the Inca, is kind of making me think anyway of my pig and gator combination.
Yep.
And yeah, the premium plastic.
Perfect.
I don't know much about them, so I can't say a whole lot more. It looked like a gator.
So if you want to send Josh an Inca because you know it's better than a gator,
yeah, feel free.
Hit us up. He'd love to try it.
I'll try it.
All right, for me, manufacturer, it looks like we've got MVP for the mid-range number 1 slot. I'm going to cover the overstable mid-range. Again, I throw a lot of forehands, and that overstable mid is very important for my game. I throw a Buzz OS right now, so I'm kind of looking for that heavy overstability. Mm-hmm. Not a whole lot of turn, but a lot of fade at the end. And I got to go with the deflector.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know a whole lot about MVP, the deflector is the most overstable mid they've got.
Do you know what the numbers are?
It's a fade 4. 0 turn, fade 4. That's about
something 04.
all I know. I can't tell you the exact speed. 6 maybe. 6 speed. And not a ton of glide. You know, the overstable mids don't have a ton of glide to begin with, generally speaking. But yeah, deflector, and I'm gonna go with the neutron plastic. I think it's important to have premium plastic for my overstable mid because it's going to be hitting the ground hard a lot on the fade, and I want it to keep its overstability as long as possible.
Okay. I'm just looking up the numbers for you.
What do you got?
Because that's important to me.
5 speed?
Yeah, 5304. 3.504.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on the
Me neither.
decimals for
5304.
the speeds.
All right.
All right. Take it away with
nice.
mid-range number 2.
Mid-range number 2, I got Discmania. And I am going with the Kyle Klein Midnight Prowl meta.
A little West
Origin.
Michigan shout out.
Yeah, because why would I not throw that? Kyle's great, and I want to throw his disc. And it's so, to go beyond that a little bit, it reminds me of my Comet.
Okay.
My Comet is one of my favorite discs. I know I'm a mostly Innova guy, but I do throw Buzzes and Comets and stuff like that. And so, you know, I've got the Inca for an overstable, and now the Origin for something straighter that might even turn over a little bit if I need it to.
Nice.
So, yeah, and I'm going to go, what, did I mention the plastic yet? Yes, I did. Meta. I think it's the only one they make for the Midnight Prowl.
Yeah, and that's Kyle's signature disc right now.
Yes. Go Kyle.
Go pick one up to support Kyle. We love you, Kyle. Yeah, Meta plastic.
Yeah.
All right. I'm up.
You're up.
Okay. Looks like we've got, for mid-range number 2, West Side discs.
West Side.
All right, so I've thrown some Trilogy mids before. Nothing from West Side other than the harp, which is what you already picked.
You can pick it too, though.
I won't be picking the harp. I already filled the deflector already took my overstable mid spot there. Harp will be okay, but I'm actually going to go with the Anvil. And you might be looking at the flight numbers, those of you following along and saying, hey, the Anvil's got similar fade to the deflector, which it does. But I'm going to go with the BT medium plastic because it will beat in very quickly and will end up flying very straight for me. And throwing forehands with mids, you need something very beefy.
Yeah.
In general.
You get a lot more torque off it, don't you?
Yeah, you can't be throwing something flippy mid-range wise on a forehand, or it's just going to turn and burn on you. So the anvil in that more baseline plastic, the BT medium, is going to be important for me to be able to flip something up to flat on kind of a soft hyzer flip release, or hitting it hard with a lot of torque and even drifting it into a turnover shot.
Okay.
That's what I've been able to do a lot of now with a Granite Quake. Of a couple different varied
seasonings.
Yeah, seasonings, I guess is the word. Yeah, no, that's good. I have a couple different ones in my bag right now that are seasoned differently. Some have more usage than others. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here in the BT medium anvil.
Okay. 4204.
Yeah. So a lot of fade, but because it's that baseline plastic, I think I will be able to beat it up quickly and control
it into a 4201.
Yeah, control it more of a straight flying disc, and the good bonus about that is that then it makes itself viable for a straight flying backhand disc with predictable fade still.
Okay.
So that gives it multiple usage and a lot of versatility. So those are my mids.
Sounds
onto the
good.
Fairways. You're up.
Fairway. What do I get for fairway? I got Discraft.
Oh, baby.
Okay, something I'm familiar with. I like that. So in this slot, again, I want something that's super overstable, and then I want something else that's understable if I can. So for the overstable, I'm going to go with a Raptor. And I'll take it in the Z plastic because it's durable. It's going to hold its seasoning for a while.
That's our new word, seasoning.
So, yeah. The Raptor is a 9403. And so that would probably go in my bag right where my Firebird is. And yeah, I think I'll be happy with that. I've thrown some Raptors before, and I like them. They're good discs.
I've thrown them, and I like them.
So
I will put them in my bag.
It's funny to me because right now there is a Raptor in my bag that we affectionately call the non-Raptor, or the not Raptor, because it's one of the straightest discs I've ever thrown in my entire life.
So that brings up my question then. What are you looking, this Raptor that you're putting in your bag right now for this game, are you looking for a stereotypical beefcake Raptor, or are you looking for the...
No, I will never find a not Raptor again. I will never find a not Raptor again. I don't know what happened with that disc. It was new when I got it, but it's not a Raptor. But no, this one is a Raptor, the one that I'm going to put in my bag. It's an actual Raptor 9403, so it's an overstable beefcake, I hope. Z-line plastic.
Perfect. All right. Fairway driver number 1 for me is going to come from Discmania. Any experience with Discmania fairways in the past, Josh?
A little bit. My son and his friends throw Discmania. The thing is, I just don't know them well enough to know which is what. I know I've thrown them, but I couldn't name other than the Origin, which is what the Midnight Prowl is. I don't know if I could name them and tell you what they did very well.
Okay. Well,
that's what I have Google for.
That's true. Maybe we'll give Kyle Klein a call. He can help us.
Okay.
No, I'm going to go with the FD. There's 2 slots. We've got 2 fairway slots that I'm trying to fill here. One's going to be overstable. One's going to be a little bit more neutral.
I feel silly now. Discmania, fairway driver. What should I throw? Yeah. How about a fairway driver?
How about the FD? How about the fairway driver? No, the reason I'm going with the FD, and I'm going with the S-line FD specifically just for comfortability and grip purposes, combined with durability. But the reason I'm going with the FD is because I like fairway number 1 in my bag to be more of a hyzer flip fairway. Something I can hit hard with some torque, flip it to flat, know it's not going to drift too far over with turn. That'll have a predictable finish, but nothing too overstable at the end. And the FD is going to be a really good shot shaping disc, especially on tight wood lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
So
I have thrown FDs before.
FD is number one for me. Fairway number one.
And I actually have a Dark Rebel in my bag, so
beautiful.
that's kind of like an FD, right?
Close enough. I mean, we
It's
talked
an
about the
FD.
Mantis on our disc of the month recently, and we gave a similar comp to the FD. So I'm looking for the same type of thing,
All
forehand and backhand abilities with it, which is nice and versatile.
All right.
Fairway number 2, Josh. What do you got?
Number 2, it looks like I got Millennium, which is not a company that I have thrown a lot from.
But it is similar to Innova,
sister
company to Innova.
Yep. So I went with the Orion, which kind of reminded me of one of my favorite discs of all time, the Valkyrie. It's a pretty straight to maybe a little flippy when it gets beat in fairway driver. And that's what I like. I like something. So I got my overstable. Now I need something that I'm either going to be able to keep on a pretty straight line or turn over. So I'm going with the Orion in the LS standard plastic.
All right.
And I'm not sure why. I don't know their plastics. It sounded nice when we were looking them up.
Oh, I love it, Josh. All right. Fairway driver number 2. I'm hoping we get a company here with an overstable fairway in their lineup.
Yeah.
And we've got DGA.
I think they have one.
And I know they have one. They've really got 2 that I'm looking at, thinking about. They got the Tsunami and the Hellfire. And I think I've already got the FD in the bag, which if thrown slower and on a hyzer is still predictable enough to finish with some fade. So I'm going to want Super Beef here for fairway number 2. Something that can even be a utility disc if needed. Looking kind of Raptor-ish like you. Firebird-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going with the Hellfire. The SP line Hellfire from DGA. And I know it's a 10-speed. And I know what you're thinking right now, Josh. That's not a fairway driver.
It's not a fairway driver. Oh, yeah.
Well,
it's not.
DGA classifies it as a fairway driver, so I'm going to put it in my bag for this game as a fairway driver, and we're going to run with it. Beefcake Hellfire in the bag. Let's go. Distance driver, you're up.
Disc golf, where the rules don't matter. And everything's made up. Okay.
Tune in for a future episode where we go over flight numbers.
Yeah.
All right.
Glide?
There's our plug.
Yeah. So, okay. I've got Innova. I get Innova for one of my distance drivers. That is exciting. And this is going to be hard because I love my distance drivers. There's 4 or 5 of them that I throw regularly. So which one am I going to pick from Innova and which one am I going to have to farm out if I get somebody else on the next pick? I'm going to go with the Shrike.
All right. Done.
Moving on.
Strike's in the bag.
No, yeah. Shrike 13.6 neg 2.2. And in the Star plastic, this is one that when it gets seasoned up pretty good, I can hyzer flip it. I can get it to go right if I need it to. And I can get it to stay pretty stable and go left if I need it. It's a pretty versatile disc that I can control. And then I know I can put on the line I want to put it on and get it where I want it to go.
Perfect. That was an easy one.
What else do you want in a disc?
You made fun of me for getting an easy one on my putter. That's an easy one for you.
It is.
No, driver number 1.
Super pretty, kind of easy.
All right. Driver number 1 for me. Looks like we've got Infinite discs.
Infinite.
And there is one driver I have thrown from Infinite. And I think that is the driver I'm going to reach for right now. And that's going to be the Pharaoh. I'm going to take it in the S blend. S blend Pharaoh. Gripping purposes, some durability, and flippy.
I've never thrown one.
Flippy enough where with some forehand torque, we can get it to turn and drift. It's a 13 speed, I believe.
Okay.
-1 turn. But it's got enough fade at the end. I think it's got a 2 fade. So it'll be predictable on the finish. Not going to turn and burn on me and roll. But we can get some distance, some some flex shots out of it. Try and stretch the fairway out as far as possible.
Okay.
So yeah, Farrell S blend from Infinite Disc. That's driver number 1.
That was the 13th speed, you said?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So look at that. It's almost exactly like a Shrike.
Coincidence? I think not.
Okay, so for my final pick for distance drivers, the randomizer gave me Millennium again. So I think this is pretty easy as well. I think, my 2 main drivers are going to be the Shrike and the Destroyer. And so I got my Shrike, and Millennium's version of a Destroyer is the Scorpius. So I'm not super familiar with their plastic, but this one only comes in standard. So I'm going to go standard. I think that's a good choice. And that's 13.4 neg 1.3. So very much like a Destroyer. And I'm going to hope that it flies like my Destroyers. I know that there's a couple of guys on tour that really like the Scorpius. Barsby's been throwing it,
Greg
right?
Barsby, yep.
Yeah. So I trust Barsby.
I think
he's
a world champion, so it's a good good guy to trust.
I throw Roadrunners.
And you're about as good as Barsby, so that's a comparable.
By looks? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
All right. That's fair.
Yeah, that's a good comp.
Sure.
Josh Wood, Greg Barsby.
Yeah. Like twinsies.
Greg, is that you? All right.
Should have seen me with long hair.
The last randomizer says for my driver number 2, we are going to be choosing from Latitude 64. All right, so I'm looking for an overstable distance driver, preferably with some speed.
So a Destroyer.
I think I'm looking a little bit beefier than a Destroyer,
okay. A groove?
if possible. A groove? No groove. Latitude 64 makes a popular disc called the Ballista Pro. 3 fade, 14 speed, no turn. That's my guy. That's going to fill the driver number 2 slot for me. And I'm going to go with the gold line for some durability. And I am going to go with the burst. The gold line burst.
Gold line burst.
Because it needs to look pretty when I pose for my ace picture. When you're taking a picture of me and my Ballista Pro next to the basket.
Ace.
Yep. My 500-foot chain smashing ace.
Yeah.
I need that disc to look pretty in that photo.
That's understandable.
So stay tuned to the Leprechaun Hollows Facebook and Instagram page when we post my
500-foot
Ballista Pro
ace.
ace.
The gold line burst.
Yeah, gold line burst. It's going to be beautiful. Try not to get jealous, folks. So,
all right.
Those are our discs. Those are our choices. Those are the slots in our bag. Who has the best 8-disc bag between me and Josh?
Yeah. Do you want to read through the whole bag real quick, and maybe you can...
Yeah, we've got...
Maybe they'll end up right here on the screen or something.
Yeah, we'll put them up here for you. Those of you that are watching on YouTube. For those that are just listening, we've got my bag, Jawbreaker Roach, the Icebreaker, Neutron Deflector, BT Medium Anvil, S-Line FD, SP Line Hellfire, S-Blend Pharaoh, and a Gold Line Burst Ballista Pro. Josh, what's your bag?
All right, for a putter, I've got the MVP Electron Soft Nomad. I have a Westside BT Medium Harp. I have an Infinite Discs Premium Inca. Discmania Midnight Prowl, which is an Origin of the Meta variety. For my fairways, I have a Discraft Raptor in Z plastic, and I have a Millennium Orion in the LS standard plastic. For my distance drivers, I have an Innova Shrike Star plastic and a Millennium Scorpius standard plastic.
So again,
it's an OP bag.
Yeah.
I won.
Oh, you are funny. I think I won. But yeah, throw some comments down below. Who has the better bag? Which bag would you choose? Where did we make a mistake? Where did we definitely hit the home run? Let us know. We're curious. We both think we have the better bag right now.
Yeah.
obviously one of us has to lose. So
let us know.
Let us know who you think lost. All right. Tourney talk this week. We're not going to go too deep and too long into this section, but we're talking a little bit about financials in the beginning of sponsorship and promotion and that kind of deal. Now that we've got our tournament registered with the PDGA, possibly, and for sure registration is up and open on disc golf scene.
Yeah. So we've got all the details figured out. We know what we're doing. We know what kind of a tournament it is. We know when it's going to be. We know where it's going to be. We got all our permissions. This is something that, Jake, you're actually pretty well known for around here as being able to get sponsorships and being really good at building those relationships with sponsors, and something that I have not had a lot of experience with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really interested to hear what you have to say today in regard to this. So when it comes to sponsorships, where do you start? What are you looking for? What's your goal when you get out there to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you start putting that plan into action?
So I guess to start, once that tournament is up and we've got all the details figured out, for me, my ultimate goal is to provide I expect the event that I'm running and the course that I'm putting it on at to be top notch as much as possible that I can provide to begin with. But outside of that, player packs and payouts are what amateurs especially are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the motivation behind setting up the financial aspect and the sponsorship is, how can I provide something that will fluff the payouts, that will fluff the player pack, part of the experience for the amateurs. So that's the ultimate goal.
To help entice the players.
Yeah, entice the players and make them ultimately want to look back on the year when they reflect and say, yeah, I had a lot of fun at, our big event at Leprechaun Hollows is the Pot of Gold doubles. That's been our big event for 8 or 9 years now. So I want them to look back at that tournament specifically and say, yeah, that's a tournament I want to go back to in the future. The player packs were cool. The payouts were even better. That's an experience that I want to return to. So that's the ultimate goal behind it. Yeah.
And so what are your first steps? Now, obviously, again, 8, 10, 12 years in, you already have a lot of relationships already built. So there's probably 5 people in your speed dial when you're putting a tournament together that you call immediately. But say you don't have them, where would you start finding sponsorships? What would be the first couple of steps for you? You move to a new town and you don't know any of the businesses around.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Obviously the first kind of the easiest thing to do is, if you're starting a disc golf tournament in a new place, you should have some connection, like we've talked about previously, with the local club.
Mm-hmm.
So you should have some semblance of knowledge at that point, or at least a contact person from that club who has knowledge of anyone within the club or within that tight-knit disc golf community that owns a business or has showed willingness to donate to things in the past. That's a great place to start. If you're plugged in to your local community and you're not brand new to the area, which most people running a tournament would generally be somewhat plugged into their area at that point, you should have knowledge on your own of who's a business owner and who's willing to support the sport. I think that's a great starting point to begin with. And then from there, it's really about branching out and using your mind and thinking. I like to think on the larger national scale. Like when I look at Elite Series events, what kind of companies are sponsoring these events? You look at Grip 6 belts, for example. They've been big on the Pro Tour They've been big with Jomez sponsoring the player intros and stuff like that. So you think, well, is there a clothing belt company in my area, just a local one that I can reach out to? Can I reach out to Grip 6 themselves, see how they approach sponsoring someone on the local level? That type of a thing. Grip 6 is one example, but there's mixed opinions on disc golf and the connection with like the alcohol industry and breweries. But I think overall the reception is relatively in high regard. We're not encouraging people to go out and get drunk on the course, but a lot of disc golfers enjoy having a beer, not necessarily most during a round, but after a round, just hanging out at the local brewery or bar. So that is, every town's got a local bar or a local brewery, it seems like. Here in West Michigan, we have
50.
Probably too many, but it is what it is. But that's an incredible place to start because especially around here, I look at it that, so many of those guys are battling for, it's a turf war. You say, there's 50 of them. There's probably more than 50 around here. But there's plenty in every area of the country because beer is a international pastime, I guess is how I would phrase it. But the point is, it's a turf war. But whenever there's multiple breweries on the scene, so they're always looking to get their name out there. And when you can connect them to an audience that is already partaking in their product, and say, we can directly point them back to you, and you'll be able to see how big of an impact you had and how they connected with your product if we can attach your name to this event that we're running or this league that we're running. That's a big place to start. But I like to, a lot of people say, look local. I like to look national, see that example, and then bring that into my
try
local.
To apply that locally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And something else you mentioned, it's not going to bring in money probably, but a good way to get some CTPs and LPs out there on the course is talking to the other local clubs and leagues. I know when we run tournaments, a lot of our CTPs and long putt prizes are from the other leagues in town. That happens quite often. The leagues share discs a lot for CTPs and stuff like that. So that's some low-hanging fruit as well to go
and it adds variety.
It does.
Most leagues all leagues for the most part will have a different stamp on the discs that they're donating. So that's variety right there, but a lot of them use different brands. I know around here we had Innova, we had Discraft, and we had all three Trilogy brands last year from the various leagues. So right there you've got 5 different brands, manufacturers, without even trying to gain sponsorship. But for me, the only thing I would add on the sponsorship note is when you're approaching a potential sponsor, whether you've had a connection with them in the past or not, the number one thing is if you're asking for money, like actual cash to support your event, whether it be in an added cash sense for the pro purse or just using it to fluff payouts for the amateurs, the number one thing I would recommend is just be organized. Have options, sponsorship options for them to choose. Show them on paper what they get with each sponsorship option. Like, what will be the return for them? What's in it for them? Not just you verbally speaking it, but something where you can talk and point to on a piece of paper and say, here's the 10 reasons why you should support my event.
Here's how it's going to benefit you.
This is how it works for you. This is how it helps us. This is how we help each other. You have to be organized. You have to be clean, and you have to be able to point it back to them. How's it going to help them? Because you'll run into plenty of nice people that are like, yeah, we love disc golf too. Let me support the event. And then there's the people that don't really care and they want to know what you can do for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they can still help you. Absolutely, they can still help you. But they also want to know what's in it for them too. Mm-hmm. So there's that. The other thing is, it's not a no until you ask. To be completely honest, a lot of people are scared of hearing no, but especially the way I've approached it around here is I'm reaching out to people that I've never met in my life, and I will probably never cross paths with again. Mm-hmm. So the embarrassment of a no is
minimal
at that point, not real painful for me. And certain people approach that mentally a little bit different.
Yeah, no,
but
good.
It's not a no until you ask. So if you don't ask, then it's definitely going to be
every time.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a yes.
Yep, I guarantee it's not a yes if you don't ask. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on sponsorship. And I know next week we're going to dive a little bit farther into the promotion and the marketing aspect, which sponsorship ties into as well. And then we're also going to talk about, purchasing player packs, which sponsorship ties into as well.
Yeah, and can help out considerably.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so just since we're talking about next week we will have the results from the Carolina Clash and the Chain Hawk Open, and so we'll be talking about that as well. Be doing some recaps on that, and then back to Disc of the Month. So stay tuned for that. That'll be
first week of December.
Yeah, and so again, please feel free to comment below, like, share, subscribe, all the things YouTubers tell you to do. And we'd really love your comments. We'd really love some feedback on our bag selection.
On why mine is the best bag.
Or not. And then also with the TD of the month or the disc of the month or the rule of the month, we'd love to hear your feedback on those as well. What do you want to hear? Who's a TD that's really impacted your game that you want to see recognized on the show? What's a disc that you would like to see us review for the disc of the month? Your feedback and interaction can help drive this show, and so we look forward to it and would love to have it.
Absolutely. So that wraps up episode 4 of Caddy Chat with Jake and Josh. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, and until then, keep your head in the game.